We had Ambassador John Negroponte here a few minutes ago. He had something. Let's hear it. Yes, there you go. Ambassador Negroponte is just an outstanding American, and our chairman of INSA, and we're so proud to have him as part of the INSA family, part of the extended family here. He had something, an emergency at the office, but he did want to come over and say hello to many of you, and I think we had a good session, but certainly with the awardees, I thought that went very well, pictures. So thank you for tolerating me saying some of the things that John Negroponte will be saying to you this evening. And I know he feels very strongly about this relationship and about all you being here. And indeed, it's a great occasion. This is not something typical we do. This is the fourth time, I believe it's INSA's fourth Annual Achievement Awards. And it's a little different than what we normally do, and it's exciting. It's exciting because you see a lot of old faces, old friends, and new faces, and a lot of young people, and a lot of young officers, mid-level officers, in the intelligence community, law enforcement, the military, who do such great work to keep our country safe. So it's truly an honor being here with all of you tonight. Let me just say, for those who tweet, I know Chuck Alsop is a tweeter, so for those following INSA's Twitter at INSA Alliance, you can tweet about tonight using the hashtag INSA Achievement. So Chuck, do you have that, INSA Achievement? You could tweet all you want. I think they're tweeting already. Oh, wait, no more tweeting for a minute. Hashtag INSA Achievement. Okay? Let me just say, for this evening's event, we're here tonight to recognize the contributions of 6 hardworking, unsung heroes from across all sectors of the intelligence and national security communities. These 6 officers and their colleagues in the intelligence community and national security agencies do outstanding work to keep our nation safe. And I can't say enough about that, and I think we all agree. But recognizing these 6 tonight, it makes it that much more significant for all of us. And it's great having them here with us. Now more than ever, it's imperative that we celebrate the hard-earned successes that occur every day in our community. The good work that's being done by the intelligence community, the national security agencies, law enforcement, the military. Occasionally we read a lot of information out there, and it's good it's out there. But we don't always speak to ourselves about the good work that's being done. And tonight is one of the evenings we're speaking about the good work that's being done by these 6 individual officers. Well, we have much to say, much more to say about them later, and we will get into that in the program. Our recipients this evening represent the best of the intelligence community and exemplify the commitment to mission and excellence in product that our community prides itself on. And thank you to the 2013 recipients for being here tonight to share your stories with us, and they will share their stories with us. And I think they'll be very, very significant and moving stories. All 6 of the Achievement Awards are named after William Oliver Baker Awards recipients. Tonight, we are lucky to be joined by 3 namesakes. Please join me in recognizing them, and they're here with us tonight. Ms. Joan Dempsey. Joan. Dr. Sidney Drell. Dr. Sidney Drell. And Admiral Bill Studeman. Admiral Studeman, where are you, Admiral Studeman? I would also like to recognize our sponsors for tonight's programs, BAE Systems, for being both an Eagle and Liberty sponsor. There we go, for BAE. And our Liberty sponsors, Advantech, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Cynet. I'd also like to thank Raytheon for sponsoring the welcoming reception and General Dynamics for sponsoring the board reception. Thank you very much, Raytheon, General Dynamics. Your support and the support of our private sector firms are crucial to the success of INSA and our ability to host events like this. And that's really critical. And these sponsors mean so much to all of us. So thank you so much. Will you all please join me in recognizing the great contributions of our private sector sponsors who work so hard to make our nation secure. Again, to our sponsors. This evening, we're very pleased and honored to welcome Lieutenant General Michael Flynn as our keynote speaker. Thank you, General Flynn. Lieutenant General Flynn attended the Achievement Awards last year, and I was here for this conversation, a brief conversation. He was there last year for the Achievement Awards, and afterwards shared with our Vice President, Chuck Alsop, if he's tweeting, stop tweeting, how impressed he was with the event. So, General Flynn, you said you were very impressed, and Chuck Alsop, being a very good Vice President of INSA, he didn't hesitate, and he turned with enthusiasm into a commitment to speak at tonight's event. So thank you, General Flynn, and thank you, Chuck Alsop, for the invitation. This year's recipients join those from previous 3 years in representing the best and brightest of our community. And these are the officers who have represent the best of our community. That's the intelligence community, national security agencies, and our military. Please hold your applause until the end while the following previous Achievement Award recipients stand and be recognized. And they're here with us tonight, so it's very lovely having them with us. Dr. Jürgen Pfeffer, are you here? Dr. Jürgen Pfeffer? Jordan Renger, are you here? Please, a hand of applause. Jordan. Finally, before dinner is served, tonight's celebration would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. Thank you again, sponsors, and thank you all for being here. Why don't we have our dinner, and then we're going to be looking forward to hearing from General Flynn. Thank you. I would like to introduce our keynote speaker for the evening, Lieutenant General Mike Flynn. Let me just say a few things about this very distinguished American in our midst here. We're so honored to have General Flynn with us. Mike is currently the 18th Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, but he got his beginnings as a paratrooper of the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. There you go. He deployed with the 82nd Airborne as a platoon leader for Operation Urgent Fury, the U.S.-led invasion of Grenada. He then went on to serve as Chief of Joint War Plans for the JTF 180 Uphold Democracy in Haiti, and a variety of other positions followed until the attacks of September 11th, 2001. Led the U.S. into Iraq and in Afghanistan. Mike served as the J2 at JSOC, CENTCOM, Joint Staff, and Afghanistan for Generals McChrystal and Petraeus. Most recently, he served as the Assistant Director of National Intelligence for Partner Engagement before taking on the position of Director of DIA in July of 2012. Lieutenant General Flynn embraces the spirit of the Achievement Awards and the importance of recognizing and encouraging excellence early in one's career. We are proud to welcome him to the stage, so please join me in welcoming General Mike Flynn.
Okay. You come to these and you want to start and stop on the same day. Hey. So far we're doing good. A couple of things before I go through some prepared and approved remarks, according to my public affairs officer. I have our little propaganda that we dropped on everybody's seat here. It's if nothing else, it's good bathroom reading. So take it and share it around there, and it's a little bit about what your Defense Intelligence Agency is doing today. I'd also like to just something I learned coming in this evening. You know, I saw Ron Burgess in the reception, and he was giving me a big hand because he's not having to stand up here tonight.
Again, before I go into some prepared remarks, I just want to give my absolute support to my friends and my colleagues up at the National Security Agency. That organization has exactly the people, the professionals at the National Security Agency have, all over the world, have done amazing work, and I will tell you there's not a combat veteran that has not benefited from their work. And that's an organization that I can guarantee you has saved many American lives on the battlefield. So, despite everything that they're going through today. So I just want to say thanks, Ambassador Detrani, and really for the very kind introduction, and thank you for the gracious invitation to speak at this evening's INSA Award ceremony. And I want to welcome all those distinguished guests that we have here this evening, a number of friends that I know from other places, and just really for the sponsors. Thank you all so much for what you do, and really for INSA writ large for what you do. It is an honor and a privilege to be here and really to help congratulate and recognize the significant achievements of the 6 extraordinary winners that we're here to pay tribute to this evening. It is always a pleasure to be involved in an INSA event. Not only are they flawlessly run, but each and every time I attend one of your dinners, conferences, or panels, I meet another interesting colleague, make another long-lasting professional connection, or enjoy another enlightening conversation about the future of our nation. Your national security events are unparalleled in this city. For that reason, I want to thank all the team members of INSA for maintaining such high standards of excellence and for always keeping our intelligence community and our nation's security at the forefront of all you do. As our first president, George Washington, stated so simply, to be prepared for war is one of the most effective means for peace. If this statement still rings true, and I believe it does, then it is as important to be better prepared for the inevitability of war, and this is where our intelligence system comes into play. There has never been in our nation's history a time where intelligence plays such a vital role now and in the future. It is one of the few strategic advantages we retain in order to defend this great country of ours. Today, there is an urgent need for intelligence to provide that timely, fingertip feel of the operational environment, as well as a need to accurately gauge the strategic ecosystem that is rapidly changing before our eyes. And for the young people in the audience, how we address these needs will directly impact your future, a future that will dramatically change in many more ways to come. And all of you represent the future of our country. So when Joe first asked me to speak at tonight's INSA event, and really it was Chuck. Where's he at? Thank you. It was what Joe talked to me about a few months back was that tonight's event would be about mentorship, or about excellence, and about outstanding young leaders who have made extraordinary contributions to the intelligence community and our national security mission at an early stage of their careers. Looking over the list of award recipients and their extensive and impressive resumes, there is no doubt about the trajectory of our future, especially if this group of awardees has anything to do with it. Tonight, we recognize Dr. Amber Aiken from the United States Army National Ground Intelligence Center, this year's Joan Dempsey Mentorship Award winner, who was the champion of NGIC's mentoring and coaching program. U.S. Central Command's Lieutenant Colonel Ian Andrew McCullough, Dr. McCullough, the winner of the Sidney Drell Academic Award, who worked as an assistant professor at the United States Military Academy, where he developed an outreach program to improve targeting support for our U.S. Special Operations Command, the Joint Improvised Explosive Device Defeat Organization, and our great National Security Agency. The Richard J. Kerr Government Award winner, Trey Smith, who is one of the highest performing technical analysts at CIA, an extraordinary young man that I met earlier this evening, and he's only been there a couple of years, and I'll tell you, an analyst who has really got a bright future. Dr. Anton Pfeiffer, a research and development principal investigator for Northrop Grumman and the Edwin H. Land Industry Award winner, described as a truly remarkable outside-of-the-box thinker who pioneered new mission management techniques that are challenging the oftentimes conventional thinking that we have in the intelligence community. Our own U.S. Marine Corps Special Operations Command Gunnery Sergeant James Brennis, who is tonight in Afghanistan, I understand, and we will see a video of him later. He is the winner of the William Studeman Military Award, who was really the first to essentially create a national SIGINT architecture for Afghanistan commando units in support of forces deployed to Afghanistan. The interest and sidebar of that is we have Colonel Duke, who's here tonight, and a master gunnery sergeant by the name of Stalker, and there's another master gunnery sergeant by the name of Slayer. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Only in the Marine Corps, right, Michael? Hurrah. And last but certainly not to be outdone, the John W. Warner Homeland Security Award winner, who is Lindsay Hovis, an intelligence analyst in the Pennsylvania State Police's Critical Infrastructure Key Resource Unit, who greatly enhanced the ability of her unit, their partners, and the ordinary citizens of Pennsylvania to be prepared for and respond to terrorist, cyber, environmental, and other law enforcement-related threats in her state. So all I have to say is wow, and I'd like to give them all a round of applause. These 6 young people are testament to the 6 pillars of the INSA Achievement Awards and how each was judged. There is leadership, influence, proficiency, values, team building, and really finally, and I think the most important, is that personal, intangible aspect that are so hard to describe or quantify, like kindness and honesty, integrity, and empathy for their fellow colleagues. While tonight's award may in part be about young leaders, mentoring, and excellence, it is also about our nation's future, preparing for it, building a better one, and creating a workforce that is better equipped to handle its many challenges. And that future is a funny thing. Although very unpredictable, we also tend to mistrust it. But like the phrase, nothing ventured, nothing gained, we cannot be afraid of it. And that is not what these awardees are about. Their intellectual courage alone will help lead us into the future. In fact, each of them have begun shaping the future in ways that will help all of us. Their efforts make us stronger, smarter, and just better in our own efforts to more fully integrate our intelligence community and our national security system. Each of these women and men has made significant contributions to better prepare our military, our intelligence community, our law enforcement community, and our nation for the next crisis and the one after that. So let me take a moment and describe a bit some of the challenges that we are likely to face in the future and how each of you can continue to make a difference. We will face uncertain and highly complex threats, some known but most unknown, and we will need each and every one of you and your colleagues to get involved and take charge. Demographic, migratory, technological, and economic changes that researchers project for the next 50 years promise to challenge almost every aspect of our national security enterprise, which includes not just our military, but our diplomatic corps, our homeland defense infrastructure, and our emergency response procedures. For the military, aging first world populations, widening gender gaps in developing countries, and a growing pocket of young, underemployed males in third world and largely economically struggling regions will change the military face of both our enemies and our allies. Also, the growing migration of people into cities means our future soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines will not be fighting in the jungles or deserts they have trained for in the past, but the far more complex urban terrain that is filled with new and different challenges. With all these shifts, we have to change now, and we have to think about the way we will fight in the future. For the soft power side of our national security, Our partners in diplomacy, development, and international outreach will need our help dealing with regional disputes over critical natural resources that are quickly dwindling in supply, especially water and energy. That will threaten already tenuous political and social balances around the world. I have no doubt that the lines on the map will be drawn and redrawn based on struggles over the planet's most precious resources in the decades to come. For all of us, the rapid advancement in technology for destructive or disruptive purposes will challenge us to not only keep up with the pace of change, but stay one step ahead in order to secure our systems that increasingly rely on technology to exist. One issue that keeps me up at night, that I know is definitely part of our future, is the potential for our state and non-state adversaries to tactically use cyber attacks for strategic purposes against our military forces. In fact, back in May, Secretary Hagel said that the devastatingly destructive potential of cyber attacks has become the security challenge of our age. But when we think about cyber and its danger, we typically think about the vulnerability of the banking system or hacking into infrastructure systems and shutting down websites. What we need to start taking very seriously is the cyber threat to our military systems. Information technology is one of our military's most important enablers. It provides us with unparalleled decision, precision, and battle space awareness that allows our military forces the flexibility to act across the entire operational spectrum. While we grow ever more worried about the threats to infrastructure in our increasingly wired society, DIA is increasingly focused on the threats that can degrade our military capabilities. Militarized cyber weapons are the newest tools of warfare, and we need to better understand the doctrine and intent of our cyber foes in order to manage the risks that they pose. So that is really the reality of the future that we face. However, the most important tool that we have and the most important weapon that we need in order to face this complex and rapidly shifting environment is a prepared, talented, and top-notch workforce. That is why I believe these 6 young professionals that we celebrate are exactly the type of national security professionals our country needs to better prepare for this uncertain future. Each of you, each of our 6 awardees, they are versatile and able to span the gap between specialization and generalization. You think outside the box and you look for solutions beyond how things are usually done or normally done. You have demonstrated that you take the initiative without being asked. You have the technical talent to turn your ideas into reality. That is no small undertaking. You consider the team before the individual or yourself. You default to partnership, collaboration, and integration rather than isolation. You think beyond the immediacy of today. You broaden your horizons, your skill sets, and your experiences to prepare for the challenges of tomorrow. And you are absolutely committed to pushing the envelope as far forward as possible. With you 6 at the forefront of our next generation, I am very confident that we're on the right track. You give us all faith that even in the darkest days that we may face, your talent, your dedication, your leadership, and your commitment will light the way. You are our nation's future torchbearers. Our future is definitely in good hands with you. On behalf of a grateful nation, thank you for your service to our country, and my sincerest congratulations to each and every one of you. Ambassador Detrani, the INSA team, the entire INSA team, all of the sponsors that are here tonight, thank you for allowing me to speak here this evening. It is my personal and professional honor and privilege to be part of this very, very special event, so thank you all.
Well, that was inspiring, insightful. Thank you, General Flynn. It's a great honor being in the room with you and hearing your comments. When I became president of INSA earlier this year, I was pleased to learn that in 2010, the INSA Board of Directors established the Achievement Awards to recognize the early and significant contributions of dedicated professionals of the intelligence and national security communities. So if I may, let me just give you a little background on what the awards are as further to General Flynn's comments. The awards reach across the military, civilian, academic, industrial components of the intelligence community to identify those young people and mentors who are rising stars in our community. This year we are honoring, as the General indicated, 6 rising stars across our vast community, including a U.S. Marine Corps SIGINT specialist in Afghanistan, and we'll see a video. An intelligence analyst with the Pennsylvania State Police and an assistant professor at West Point. Each Achievement Award is named after a previous William Oliver Baker Award recipient, and we are honored to have many of the namesakes with us tonight, as we indicated a few minutes ago. Each year, the INSA solicits nominations from government, academia, and industry. Individuals are nominated not only for their wonderful contributions to the field of intelligence, national security, but also for encouraging and inspiring their colleagues to strive for excellence. The selection committee, and I was honored this year to be part of that selection committee, reviews each nomination on the basis of leadership, influence, proficiency, values, team building, and personal intangibles. This year, we received more than 50 nominations, which is a testament to the growth and success of the awards. On behalf of the INSA chairman, Ambassador John Negroponte, and the board of directors, I would like to thank everyone who submitted a nomination for consideration, as well as those INSA members who spread the word about the awards and served on the awards committee. And Scott is sitting at the table, Scott White and a few others who were on that committee. Without further ado, it's time to honor the 2013 recipients of the INSA Achievement Awards. Each award will be presented by the award's namesake, or an appropriate stand-in for the namesake. Presenting the award for mentorship in her name is Joan Dempsey, and we're honored to have Joan Dempsey with us, recognizing the achievement of Dr. Amber Aiken of the U.S. Army National Ground Intelligence Center. So please, let's welcome Joan Dempsey.
Thank you all. It's my great honor to be able to present this award this evening. It's also an honor for me to be here with Bill Studeman and Sydney Drell. And Sydney, it's great to see you looking so well this evening. Those 5 other awards that are named after these distinguished men who are heroes of mine, I am a pale comparison to them, but I am a whole lot younger. I love that line. It never, ever fails me. I want to talk for just a moment about Dr. Amber Aiken, if I can. You know, we get a lot of packages for awards, as Joe said, and they're all stunning. You don't get nominated by your organizations without being really, really good in each of these categories. But a number of things about Dr. Aiken's package stood out for me. One, she's the Senior Intelligence Officer for Technologies at NGIC. And we have such a dearth of women in science, technical, engineering, and mathematics fields in this country. It is terrible. We have to correct this problem. And so having her as the awardee for mentorship, is a twofer in my book. It's so important for women to see role models like Dr. Aiken. Secondly, something caught my eye in her package, and that is that she, in addition to being the champion for mentoring at NGIC for the last 5 years, she came up with an idea for reverse shadowing. So the seniors at NGIC shadow young intelligence officers. I wish I had thought of that, because I would have learned so much more in my career if I had had the opportunity to shadow some of the young officers and see what their professional life was like. And I think that's just a stunning idea and program. And she's worked with the young officers at NGIC for the last 5 years, and really has been, as you would expect, a tremendous role model and mentor. But what really put her package over the top for me was in working to get recognition for the young intelligence officers at NGIC. She had an outreach program with the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. And through that outreach program, she realized that they were underserved by intelligence from the community. And so through her efforts to mentor and get recognition for the young officers, she actually helped to solve an intelligence shortfall that we had at the highest levels of the government. Now that's a pretty stunning testament to somebody whose goal was to mentor young officers and help make help make their professional careers better. She ended up helping intelligence serve our highest customers better. Really a phenomenal story. So with that as an introduction, Amber, if you would join me on stage, I'd like to present Dr. Amber Aiken. And you see over here your sons whose names are?
Sophian and Mace.
Would you guys stand up? I want you to see your mom from, yeah, there we go. I didn't realize you were on stage, Amber, but congratulations. Absolutely delighted.
And
really
you might
amazing.
not know that she also sings, and that's something we have in common. So I know that she sings Elvis, so ready?
No. No, we are definitely not singing tonight.
I can't help falling in love with you.
Nice job. Nice job. He wants us to move over. Amber, come over here. I'll tell you what, I'll hold this for you.
Okay, that would be great.
So I think that's the first time anyone has ever sung their acceptance for an award. Amber, please.
I read about her, and she sings. So next time, you got to ask for it. Good evening. I'm so honored to be receiving the Joan A. Dempsey Award for Mentorship, a topic that is very dear to me. I'm thrilled that my husband, Richard, and my two sons, Sophian and Mace, could be here with me tonight. I was pregnant with my second son when I started working at the National Ground Intelligence Center in June of 2001. A few months later, 9/11 happened. And as we all know, the intelligence community was changed forever. I was a single mom then, working weird crisis hours. I had no prior military or intelligence experience and had never seen so many acronyms in my life. I went to school in physics, but I certainly had never had a class in night vision or electro-optics, which was the first area of study at NGIC that I had. I felt a little lost. And I wasn't alone. Even the long-timers had to figure out new ways of doing things to fit the new tempo and information landscape. And new faces were coming on board at an alarming rate. It was during this time that I realized just how critical mentoring is to keeping this dynamic community going strong. How important it is that we capture and pass along expertise and trade craft. That folks from all walks of life are empowered to contribute. That we keep morale high and maintain that great feeling of solidarity that comes from working together toward a clear common goal. That we pick each other up in turbulent waters. And these days, through endless reorganization and budget cuts. A good friend of mine passed away last week. She worked at NGIC as a sharp young analyst until she grew too sick to continue. Knowing she was on borrowed time, she asked me if I would take over her work with students she was mentoring through a local youth program. She said to me, "It's honestly one of the most worthwhile things I've ever done." Indeed. The intelligence community is an incredible organism full of the most fascinating and skilled people. If we all adopt a culture of coaching and mentoring, the community will thrive and we will get to feel, all of us, that same sense of personal reward. I would like to close by thanking INSA, Joan Dempsey, an inspiring and accomplished woman, and all the people who have provided me with their mentorship and guidance, my parents, my husband, my supervisors, my friends, my colleagues. And I learn more every day from my children who keep me fresh and up to date. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the recipient of the National Medal of Science and 2001 William Oliver Baker Award, Dr. Sidney D. Drill. He is joined by the 2013 Sidney D. Drill Academic Achievement Award recipient, Lieutenant Colonel Ian McCullough.
Good evening. I am very, very honored to present this award, honored that INSA created this Achievement Award in my name, and honored and privileged to present it to Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Ian McCullough, whose achievements are impressive and important. I will start with a short prologue, a memorial tribute to another individual who served in the intelligence community and who, like Ian, made extraordinarily important contributions starting at a young age. In 1963, 50 years ago, Dr. Albert Whelan was appointed Deputy Director of the CIA and was the founding director of the CIA's newly created Directorate of Science and Technology. Sadly, this fall, just several weeks ago, Bud, as he was universally known, lost his battle with cancer. His major contributions to our national security earned him the status of a legend at the intelligence community. I don't use that word legend lightly, and there's some legends here that I don't know, some I do, but to give you an example of what I mean by a legend, just think of Charlie Allen. Bud was a gentleman of integrity and a dedicated patriot. I consider him a model for the very impressive young achievement honorees here tonight. It was my great personal pleasure and privilege to have known Bud as a close friend and on a number of occasions, a close colleague. We met at MIT in 1952 as he finished his thesis in theoretical physics and went off to work at Raymond Wooldridge in Southern California. During his decade there, he built quite a reputation based on his fundamental contributions in two areas: an understanding of the flight dynamics in and out of the atmosphere of long-range ballistic missiles, and second, he enabled the United States to harvest and read the telemetry of the Soviets that the Soviets sent back to ground from flight tests of their newly developing long-range ballistic missiles. Our ability to gain this information and to analyze what they were doing was an important contribution to our national security. Called in by the White House during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, he correctly deduced from aerial photography that the Soviets were introducing nuclear missiles into Cuba, counter to what many other advisors were saying. This overall record brought him to the attention of John McCone, then the Director of Central Intelligence, who recruited Bud at the tender young age of 33 to government service as chief scientist at CIA, and then within a year promoted to the DD&S. Those were days of transformational developments in the technology for using reconnaissance from space. First with the very high altitude aircraft, the U-2, subsequently the Mach 3 Oxcart, as the CIA knew it, more widely known as the SR-71 Blackbird in the Air Force. And shortly thereafter, a giant step forward was made with Earth-orbiting satellites, starting with the Corona system, a photo reconnaissance system in space. The first one that went up after more than 13 failures gave us enormous intelligence, orders of magnitude beyond what we've been able to get from the airplanes before then. And to think of it, a camera 120 miles or so in space, giving us very effective intelligence. They are just three outstanding examples of many remarkable contributions by science and technology to U.S. national security. They gave our government important information on Soviet ballistic missile developments, their space programs, their efforts to deploy ballistic missile defense systems. We were able to penetrate the Iron Curtain that way and learn what was real, not imagined, or longer, and no longer hidden. We learned to learn the military threats to the national security of the United States that the Soviets were developing. Bud, with his deep understanding of the then existing technical possibilities, and with his acute vision of potential new possibilities to acquire the information that we needed, and unimaginable with those talents also, to have the skill to build a highly effective organization in technical intelligence capabilities, and that was able to tackle and implement the major revolution that we were making then from space in the technical intelligence world. And to think he was a theoretical physicist. I know them, I am one, and this is really rare. As Stephanie O'Sullivan, the current Principal Deputy Director for National Intelligence, emphasized in the tribute to Bud that she prepared for his memorial service last month in Santa Barbara, California, these three programs, each of which had a profound impact, were technical miracles. And she said, and I quote her, "They successfully altered the dynamic of the Cold War. Each brought a new class of information to U.S. intelligence and to the president and decision makers who navigated our way through our struggles with the Soviets." Bud's contributions to national security of our country were enormous and were fully appreciated by the national intelligence community and by the highest levels of government, which awarded him their highest honors. You can look them up, and rather than repeat the long list, except to say that in 1993, Bud was one of the winners of the William Oliver Baker Award from the predecessor of INSA. I will close this tribute to Bud with a comment from Secretary of Defense Bill Perry. The national reconnaissance systems which the United States now has, which are truly jewels in our crown, all stem, in my judgment, from the creative work that Bud Whelan did in the 1960s. Now I can get to the citation. I use this because his standard is a model for people like Colonel Ian and the other 5. Well, Dr. Ian. Now, I was told I was supposed to read a citation. You can read the citation in the program. You don't need me to read it for you. I mean, it's so impressive. I stand in awe of it. Work he did on such terrible challenges to our troops in Iraq on the improvised explosive device, working with JIADO, the defeat organization for that. The incredible structure he built at the West Point for applying advanced computational methods for improved targeting for strategic operations command. So let me just summarize at the end, because I want to give him more time to tell you what he did. It's more exciting, because he told it to me as we talked before dinner, than my just reading his citation. But I like the way it was said that Lieutenant Colonel McCullough is a one-of-a-kind example for bridging worldwide research with on-the-ground military operations, and as well deserving the Sidney Drell Achievement Award. Ian, I stand in high awe of what you do. Also, for all 6 of you, I stand in high awe of what you have done to receive this award. I give you my best wishes for good luck on a great career journey that faces you. You are facing major challenges, as the General said, not less than, in fact, perhaps more difficult than those that Bud faced. With today's transformational developments due to technical advances, in particular in really big data and cybersecurity. The challenge of the intelligence community is as tough as ever, and the need for this best talent, as represented in the 6 of you here receiving the award tonight, is badly needed by the nation. So good luck in your future. And now I'll let Ian to tell you what it was that made his life so exciting.
I look around the room and I see many of the unsung American heroes that have enabled our country to be as strong as it is, and I'm humbled to be receiving this award, and I thank you for this honor. This is an academic award, and I'm in a military uniform, so I feel it's important for me to just say what I think this means to me. Very short story. So my first deployment to Afghanistan, there was an incident that really has stuck with me for the rest of my career. There was a headmaster of a school in Afghanistan, in Bagram, who wanted to educate women. Because if you educate a woman in Afghanistan to about a 6th grade level of education, she will continue to invest in that community. Whereas if you educate a man to a 6th grade level of education, he will typically leave and find opportunity elsewhere. As you can imagine, the Taliban was not cool with this plan and threatened him and his family. And so he struck a deal with them. If he gave them occasional food and clothing, the Taliban would leave him alone and he could educate the women. Sounds good, right? Well, unfortunately, a U.S. raided a Taliban camp, took out the Taliban group, that's good, but they grabbed this guy's cell phone and looked at everybody in the caller ID and targeted them, to include the headmaster of the school, who was thrown in a Bagram detention center for about 18 months before anybody looked at his case. His replacement at the school expelled all the women. Now, when I think of this story, it's a tragedy, but everybody in the story thought they were doing what was right. The headmaster wanted to educate women. The replacement wanted to continue to have a school.
the Taliban wanted to have conservative values in his country. And the US soldier was doing what he thought was right to make Afghanistan a better place. And what was common to all is none of them really knew what the hell they were doing. And I will point out that there were really no intelligence professionals involved in the process. Just have to throw that in there. Just got to throw that in there. It was as most of you can understand, you understand where the flaws are. And we need to make sure that we have critical analysis of our processes and what we are doing to make sure that the actions we take are important. And that is an important advancement that we need to keep vigilant in the intelligence community for it. Today we face a spectrum of conflict. We range from major combat operations on one end to influence and shaping operations on the other. For major combat operations, they're really conducted on geographic terrain, and Dr. Drell and his colleagues did outstanding jobs in helping us understand how to fight in that terrain. I'm honored to be receiving this award in his name. On the other end of the spectrum, when it talks about influence, I will tell you that I am closer to servicemen serving in Afghanistan today than I am to my next door neighbor. He's a jerk, I don't really like it. Okay? Certainly not influenced by it. And so geography really has less meaning when it comes to influence and shaping operations. There are social networks, and understanding how to operate in those social networks are important. We need to look away from geographic engagement areas, avenues of approach, named areas of interests, and this geographic IPB, and we need to understand how to take networks. We need to understand how to cluster them. We need to understand how to define influence engagement areas, influence avenues of approach, influence named areas of interests, and how to fight in this terrain. In 1802, when West Point was established, art was on the curriculum. And people think, why was art important for an Army officer? They had to draw their own maps. And the maps they drew weren't that great. But they were important for them to be able to conduct operations in the terrain that they were existing in. Today, in this information age, we stand at the same place. We need to have our lieutenants and our intelligence professionals drawing the map. Not the map of Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever future battlefield we might be in, but the map of the network. And what does the network mean? And how do we maneuver in that network? And how do we conduct IPB in that network? That is the challenge going forward. Academics really is not about learning in school, it's about research. It's about innovation. It's about innovating new ways of doing things and facing the problems and challenges that lay ahead. And that future, I believe, in the information age is networks. When I hear cyber, I'm not so much interested in a guy hacking a network or a router. I look at cybers as engineers in the information age, creating obstacles, canalizing our enemies, and looking at shaping those battlefields for influence activities to operate. And the important challenge that lays ahead for the next generation is to understand how to conduct intelligence in this radically different age. I thank you very much for this award, and hopefully if anybody wants to grab a beer with me later, I'd be available to.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former Undersecretary for Intelligence and Analysis in the Department of Homeland Security and the recipient of the 2002 William Oliver Baker Award, the Honorable Charles E. Allen. He is joined by the 2013 Richard J. Kerr Government Achievement Award recipient, Trey Smith.
Last year, which was the third year, we gave out the INSA Intelligence Achievement Awards. Richard J. Kerr was here, and Richard J. Kerr is a person I know very well. I worked for him off and on over a great number of years. And he noted last year that Central Intelligence Agency, which has this vast analytics center, literally hundreds and hundreds of all sorts of analysts, had never nominated an officer for the Achievement Awards and asked me to do something about it. I saw Peter Clement, who's now an academic at Columbia University, for the Central Intelligence Agency, to really give this a very serious consideration. This did happen this year. I'm extremely delighted that we have Andrew Hallman, who is the Deputy Director of Intelligence for Strategic Programs. Andrew has a very distinguished career, and he's very young. So I think if Dick could not be here tonight because of previous commitments that he could not avoid, so I'm very honored that Joe Detrani and Chuck Alsop asked me to be the presenter for Richard J. Kerr, the Government Service Award. And it's a great pleasure to get to know Trey Smith. He had joined the Central Intelligence Agency in 2011. I think it was said previously by General Flynn. In a couple of years, he's gone a long way. I joined the Central Intelligence Agency in 1958, so there's a little bit of difference in that. But I do want to just briefly say that great to see Sidney Drell, who's a great friend with whom I worked in earlier incarnations on some very hard problems, and that's what Trey brings to the table here. Extremely difficult and complex strategic issues. And he comes out of the Weapons Intelligence and Nonproliferation Assessment Center, WINPAC, with whom I have worked when I was the Assistant Director of Central Intelligence for 7 years. And before that, as an NIO for 10 years, we worked incredibly hard. And WINPAC has incredible officers. And he has worked on a particular problem set, as Sidney Drell said. You can read it, and I won't go through it, but it does deal with precision strike weapons of adversaries and how to deal with them. He has made an enormous research effort. It has led to great things, to the Pentagon's delight, to the Department of Navy, and to other senior officials.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former Director of National Reconnaissance Office and member of the INSA Board of Advisors, Scott Large. He is joined by the 2013 Edwin H. Land Industry Achievement Award recipient, Dr. Anton Pfeiffer.
Well, good evening. I've been told I've got 20 minutes. But we won't use much of that. It is an honor to present tonight's Edwin Land Award, Industry Award. The topic that Anton has been working on is one we'd love to go into great detail about. Of course, we can't in this environment. But this goes back probably 10 years, maybe even longer, when we began to look at the type of architectures that were involved in our national ISR system, national security space, and so on. And many of us here in this room began to realize that there's probably a better way to think about the way that we manage these systems from the standpoint of mission management, collection management. And for quite a while, it's been a holy grail of how do we better integrate the types of systems that we're flying today, all ISR systems, but in particular our national security space systems. How can we do a better job of getting the best intelligence that we can in an environment that is challenging us continually in terms of budget, schedule, and performance? Today's budgetary environment is one at which the DNI and the agencies involved in overhead collection continue to deal with and continue to look for the best way of approaching it. Tonight's recipient, Anton Pfeiffer, has come up with a novel and truly unique approach to looking at mission management and collection management. Now, for the geeks in the crowd, for those that went through school and university and remember those one classes we always used to hate, operations research, okay? That is one of Anton's specialties. As a matter of fact, what Anton has done is applied those techniques, those philosophies, and those critical approaches to taking multiple platforms and understanding how they can both best interact and provide intelligence to all types of users to optimize collection and wring out the last ounce of intelligence is very unique. And at this point in today's environment, those systems are now becoming a reality, and his techniques and approaches for mission management are being embraced across the community and have got the attraction of both the DNI as well as the agencies who are building and those who are flying and operating the systems and the mission managers that are working collection management. So tonight's awardee for the Edwin Land Award, Anton Pfeiffer, is being recognized for his contribution to the improvements in mission management and truly making our national systems as effective as they possibly can be.
It's an honor to receive the Edwin H. Land Industry Award. I'd like to thank INSA for selecting me for this award, and I'd like to thank Dave Ryan for his nomination. I'd also like to thank Steve Berjans, Kenny Robinson, and John Cools for their letters of recommendation, and especially my government customers, Irma Sityar and Jason Smith, for their recommendations and support. So I work in an area called mission management. And mission management is essentially the optimal allocation of resources on behalf of users to execute the mission, which sounds kind of dry, but in fact it's critical. It's the critical interface between mission operations and technical execution of the mission plan. And so what's happening now, there's been a convergence across the community, the intelligence community, where we're poised now to be able to enhance how we use our national assets in a way that's never been possible before. So it's been my privilege to participate in starting to work in that area, and none of the work that I've been doing, of course, would be possible without the contributions from my Northrop Grumman team, and without the support of my wife, who's been very understanding in my long hours at the office trying to pursue this area. So again, it's been my honor, and thank you very much for this award.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former Director of NSA and Deputy Director of Central Intelligence and recipient of the 2007 William Oliver Baker Award, Admiral William O. Studeman. He is joined by Master Gunnery Sergeant Scott Stalker, who will accept the award for Gunnery Sergeant James Brennis, the 2013 William O. Studeman Military Achievement Award recipient.
Good evening. First, I think I need to respond to Joan Dempsey to validate the fact that she's correct that Sid and I are older than Joan is. But we both also have balding reflective radiance that I think Joan will come to at some point, but not yet. So, you know, I spent the afternoon with one of the DNI's study groups. We're looking at integration again for the third time. As you know, integration is the Director of National Intelligence's top priority. And one of the interesting things about it is that we were talking about the importance of awards and recognizing our people. And so I would like to actually congratulate INSA for being a critical part of that and for this award ceremony. I'd also like to thank General Flynn, by the way, for his comments about the National Security Agency. And it's not only NSA, but it's all the intelligence community that's having to endure this awful situation. Another delight of the evening is to be able to submerge myself back into the great sea services of the Navy, the United States Marine Corps, sitting next to Colonel Duke and the senior enlisted for the new Marine Corps Director of Intelligence, who's here tonight, and his deputy. In fact, we started out at salad course, and all the way through dessert, we went through HUMINT, SIGINT, theater, what's wrong, what's right, and it was a really animated discussion, and it was a lot of fun. But we are here tonight to recognize Gunnery Sergeant Venice. The motif is going to be that we're going to talk a little bit about Gunnery Sergeant Bernice. This is actually Master Gunnery Sergeant Stalker. I mean, General Flynn was correct in talking about these great names. We have Mace over here from one of the earlier awardees. I don't know whether there's a mangler out there, and but in any case, Master Gunnery Sergeant Stalker was the one who submitted the award recommendation for Gunnery Sergeant Bernice, who's in theater. So I will talk for a minute. Master Gunnery Sergeant Stalker will talk for a minute, and then there will actually be a video from Gunnery Sergeant Bernice. You can read about his accomplishments in the program. I think they're very significant, obviously, in the context of what's going on around the world in intelligence support to Special Operations Forces is really one of the most fundamentally important and continuing issues for the 21st century, which for the role of intelligence. Gunnery Sergeant Bernice has had time. This award was made when he was, I guess, in Afghanistan before he then came back, and now has gone back to the theater. So that's why he's not here tonight. He's he does, however, have 4 children. So and a recently born new daughter. So at least it's a credit to him that he has some home time. But I think this is typical of the kinds of things that we ask of our people today. To all this time spent overseas, actually these demands for these tours far, far away in an acultural land like both Iraq and Afghanistan is something that only those of us who can reflect back on 4 tours in Vietnam for that period of time and the time that they do spend away from time. So again, let me do the formal presentation of the award here, read the program on the actual achievements of the awardee, and then we'll let Master Gunnery Sergeant Stalker make a few remarks, and then the video. Sorry. That's it. Make me look taller.
Thank you very much, Admiral. On behalf of Major General Clark, my commanding general of Marine Corps Forces Special Operations Command, and Brigadier General Select Groen, Director of Marine Corps Intelligence, I'd like to thank everyone for this award. It's truly an honor to accept this on behalf of Gunny Bernice. I can tell you for INSA, General Flynn, there is not a better tactical SIGINT operator out there. And so I don't want to take up any of his time. It's, like I said, truly an honor to pick this for him, but we got a video for him, so I'll just let him speak in his own words. Thank you.
Admiral Steedman, Lieutenant General Flynn, and distinguished guests. I'm Gunnery Sergeant Bernice, and I'm currently deployed to Afghanistan with Marine Special Operations Command. I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to the Intelligence National Security Alliance, and especially to Admiral Steedman, Ambassador Chani, and Ambassador Negroponte for selecting me as this year's recipient of the Admiral William O. Steedman Military Award. It's a great honor for me to receive this prestigious award. I am deeply humbled by the fact that I was selected from a group of such high-caliber intelligence professionals. As all of you know, intelligence is a team effort that literally spans the globe. I'd like to accept this award on behalf of all the members of my team who work tirelessly to protect our forces, strengthen ties with our coalition partners, and provide our forces with a decisive advantage against our enemies. On behalf of all of us, thank you again, and Semper Fidelis.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former Undersecretary of Homeland Security and Chair of the INSA Homeland Security Intelligence Council, Ms. Karen Wagner. She is joined by the 2013 John W. Warner Homeland Security Award recipient, Lindsay Hovis.
Since it's after 10 o'clock, Lindsay and I are going to cancel our planned dramatic reading of the Pennsylvania Threat Assessment. I thought you would be relieved. I'm obviously one of the stand-ins. Senator Warner is unfortunately not in very good health, and he was very sorry that he couldn't be here tonight. But I'm very honored to stand in for him, and this is actually the second year I've stood in for him. So I'm now his body double. But last year I was honored to present the award to Jordan Ringa, who was one of my then analysts at INA. And this year I am very honored and very excited that we've looked beyond Washington and that we're presenting this award tonight to a representative of what we like to call the broader Homeland Security enterprise, Lindsay Hovis from the Pennsylvania State Police. And before I talk a little bit about Lindsay, I want to acknowledge the great table of Pennsylvanians that I've had dinner with. And they're from the great state of Pennsylvania. So Lindsay's joined tonight by her parents, her boss in the Critical Infrastructure Key Resource Unit, also the head of the Criminal Intelligence Division, several coworkers, her boyfriend, and then someone I never quite grasped, the brother-in-law. Anyway, you were very nice. I have no idea who you are. Anyway, it's a great group. And I also wanted to acknowledge that Scott McAllister is here tonight from DHS in honor of to recognize Lindsay, and he's the Deputy Undersecretary for State and Local Programs and the head of the State and Local Program Office. Although I have to add my normal caveat, which I'm so used to doing, it's almost like second nature. DHS does not own the fusion centers; they are state and locally owned and operated. So a little bit about Lindsay. It was great to read her recommendations. The letters of recommendation were so numerous, it took me a while to get through them. And just briefly, I want to say that she represents three of the key things that are so important about fusion centers and that we're looking for from fusion centers: information sharing, analysis, and a focus on integration of analysis to support all threats and all hazards. And just very briefly on the information sharing front, when she joined the Critical Infrastructure Key Resources Unit, she realized that one of her main missions, and their main mission, was to do education and outreach to all the critical infrastructure partners. And she is credited with being one of the main forces behind the fact that they now have 2,500 partners in the critical infrastructure sector, business owners and key companies. As far as analysis is concerned, she immediately started working on the aforementioned Pennsylvania threat assessment, and she proved herself so well that she was recently asked to lead the interagency threat assessment for the 150th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg, which is going to draw over 200,000 people and was going to happen right in the aftermath of the Boston bombing. So things were a little tense, and she did an excellent job. And then moving on into the all hazards integration piece, where she's credited with bringing that focus to her unit. Let me just tell you a couple of the things that she's done within the last year. Products that focused on violent flash mobs, fraudulent Pennsylvania driver's licenses, copper theft threats to the energy sector, and the threats and trends for the holiday shopping season. So it doesn't get any more diverse than that, and you can tell, obviously, why a fraudulent driver's license would be something that would be of interest across the board, from a counterterrorism perspective to a criminal fraud perspective. So Lindsay does it all, and she, in my mind, embodies those key skills and attributes that we're looking for to make the Fusion Center successful and to make that broader Homeland Security enterprise that we all rely on successful. So it is with great honor and pleasure that I present her with this award.
Good evening. I would first and foremost like to thank INSA for this amazing honor. I'm truly humbled to be chosen as this year's recipient of the John Warner Homeland Security Award. I'd also like to congratulate the other recipients for all of their remarkable accomplishments as well. When I first began my career with the Pennsylvania State Police almost 6 years ago, I had no idea where it would take me. I was just very excited to be working in the criminal justice field. Just shy of my 3-year mark with the agency, I transferred to the Intelligence Division and began to work as an analyst within the Pennsylvania Criminal Intelligence Center, which is the recognized fusion center for Pennsylvania. And on my orientation day, they actually threw out the acronym CIKR. And while I actually knew that it stood for Critical Infrastructure and Key Resources, I had no idea how far it would actually take me. I didn't know how big of a role that it actually played in Homeland Security itself. So that began 3 years of learning everything I could about critical assets, how they depend on one another, and how to help secure them. The Critical Infrastructure Unit was just starting at PASIC when I was hired, so while I had to learn how to do my own job, I also got to help build the unit from scratch. As a unit, we created procedures that we still use today. We wrote assessments whose basic structure we still use, and we made contacts with individuals in the private sector who have proven invaluable to the Homeland Security mission. I think Woodrow Wilson once said, "We should not only use the brains we have, but all that we can borrow." I think that's the best way to describe what I've learned about Homeland Security. One agency, one person can't do it by themselves, but by working together, by using information from the private sector, from citizens who report suspicious activity, and from other agencies, it will work. Homeland Security really is a shared responsibility. And that shared responsibility leads me to probably the best part of my job, which is working with some wonderful people. Even though I'm actually the one being recognized tonight, I really feel that this award actually belongs to my entire unit because we really do work as a team, and I wouldn't be standing up here if it weren't for them. So Kathy, Maggie, and Jesse, I would like to say that this award is really for all of you as well. I would also like to thank our fearless leaders, Major Ashmar, who couldn't be here tonight, and Captain Burig. Their guidance through the years and support of our unit has really actually allowed us to go as far as we have. And last but not least, I would like to thank my parents and my boyfriend Patrick, whose support and encouragement, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And just to clarify, the other person is Tim Delmonico. He's my boyfriend's brother-in-law. We love you, Tim. So, thank you again.
Well, that was great. Could we hear it for the awardees? I think the 6 of them are just outstanding. What a great evening. The awardees just were so impressive, and those who presented the awards, starting with Joan Dempsey and all of you, looking at the table here, Charlie Allen, Admiral Studeman, Scott, all of you, Karen, Dr. Sidney Drell, what an outstanding group of presenters to such an outstanding group of awardees. And I look around the room, and of course I see Charlie here. We go back many, many years, Charlie. And Andrew, thank you. This is a different but Andrew with CIA, and seeing CIA here, it means a lot to all of us here in the community at INSA and so forth. I want to say something also. I see someone else here also, Bernadette Casey, the daughter of Bill Casey, and Owen Smith, his son-in-law. I worked for Bill Casey. He was a great director of Central Intelligence and worked very closely, as he did with President Reagan, to defeat the Soviet Union. So we owe a lot to Bill Casey. And Bernadette Casey, thank you for being with us here and for what your father has done. General Flynn, we can't thank you enough. You're inspirational. You're a great American. You're someone we all want to study from, learn from, and be with. And I thank all of you for being part of the INSA team and being here tonight to recognize these lovely, very dedicated Americans. Thank you all.